Today I'm going to show you a quick way to get those really professional photos that show the inside and outside exposure on interior photos. It's a really easy way, so let's get started. Will Simpson here, and welcome to Exploring Photography. Today I'm going to show you the quickest way I know to create those images that show an inside and outside exposure in one image. It's actually a technique called bracketing, where you take an exposure of the inside and exposure of the outside and combine them in post, like in Lightroom or Photoshop. Before I show that technique, I want to apologize for the creek noise. I'm actually right next to this creek that runs through this property. This is Dream Rock Silo, which my parents and I have been renovating for the past 8 years. It's an Airbnb now. You can stay up here in the silo. You can also stay in these two locations here. So there's 3 spots, and I highly recommend coming out here to stay here. It's beautiful out here in Southwest Virginia, a great getaway spot. Now, let's get into the technique. What you're gonna need, bare minimum, is a tripod and a wide angle. I use a Canon 16-35 lens and a Me Photo tripod. I'll link them in the description, but any tripod will work, any wide angle should work. You just want the wide angle because you'll be shooting in smaller spaces inside and you want to be able to get the whole photo. Now I have to do some updated pictures of the Creekside Bungalow, which is this one here. Yeah, that one there. So let's get inside and I'll show you the technique. Super quick, super easy. Let's get going. All right, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is go into the space that you're gonna be shooting and look at it. Clean up things, organize stuff, put things away that take away from the image, because you're gonna take a bunch of photos and these are gonna be your advertising photos, so you wanna make sure that the photos look good. Once the space is cleaned and looks nice and tidy, then you can kind of get an idea of where you wanna take photos. And remember, when you're thinking about this, think about the space as how you would like to see it, because you look at it standing there in the space and you're like, wow, this is beautiful, but an image is only 2D. You have to be able to take a picture so it really expresses the space and really shows the beauty of that location. So it's really important to kind of survey the area, find the good spots. And it might be that you have to get into a tight corner and take a picture behind a chair with the cat standing on the couch so you can get the whole view. But you know, you'll figure this out as you take photos. The next step is to then take the photos and expose first for the inside and then for the outside. And you can do 3 exposures. You could do like a properly exposed photo and then a dark photo and then a light photo, just like you do in bracketing. But what I do is I take a picture that exposes for the inside, and then I take a picture that exposes for the outside, but not enough to take away from the inside. The reason for this is because if you take too dark a photo, like you're exposing for the outside and the inside is too dark, when you go to blend those images together, though the technique that I'm gonna show, it might not match it. So make sure you can still see the inside a little, but we'll get into this in editing. If you have to retake or practice, that it does happen. Now, when taking the photos, one important thing, and this is why we use a tripod, I set the aperture or the f-stop at a pretty high f-stop, like 10 or 11. That way the whole thing is in focus. Now, when you're focusing on things and you're taking multiple exposures, focus on different points. Focus close up and then take another exposure close a little bit farther. That way you can almost do what's called focus stacking. So when we combine these photos, you get the whole thing in focus. This is for just the indoor exposure. So if you take 3 exposures, 2 of them are inside, 1 is outside, and then you get the whole thing in focus. But if you're using a higher f-stop, that would be fine. Like I'll probably shoot at between a 5 and a 10, depending on the lighting. The other reason to use this tripod is because we're gonna be using a very slow shutter, so you wanna make sure that the image is stable and that there's no camera shake or anything like that. Also use a 2-second timer, so when you press it, it goes 2 seconds, the camera settles, and then it takes the picture. This will eliminate any residual camera shake for when you press the shutter button. Once you've taken all of your photos, the next thing to do is import them into Lightroom. Once you have them in Lightroom, go through them and star them, the ones that you like, because you might have taken some that you're not gonna use. So by simply pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you can give them a rating of 1 through 5. You see how this picture here and this picture here has a star in the bottom left corner, and this one doesn't. I just didn't like this one because it was just a little overexposed on the stool here, and it just looked too bright. So this one here was the exposure for the outside, and this one here was the exposure for the inside. It's just not as exposed on that stool, which is what I liked. Then our final result is gonna look like this, and that looks incredible, and that's with 0 editing. That's just simply using this technique. So once you've gone through all of your images, you can then click the star. So I want to take all the 1 stars and I'll click that and it organizes them all and gets rid of all of those other ones that I didn't want. Let's take this one here. So this is the opposite side from the kitchen to the door, and you can see that this is the exposure for the outside. This is the exposure for the inside, and I think, okay, good. So we have 3 exposures on this one. We have 1, 2, 3. So we have exposure for the outside, properly exposed for the inside, and then highlight one to show the dark areas. So we're gonna select all 3 by pressing Shift and clicking on the 3rd, or you can press Shift and the arrow key to the right click on the images, go to Photo Merge and HDR. This will take a second, literally a second. I just got a new computer and it's so fast and I'm loving it. So anyways, so this first thing is the preview, and that looks incredible. Just quickly clicking and there you go. You have a perfectly exposed photo, and we're gonna press Merge. Up here in the top left, you'll see the progress bar. Sometimes this might take a little bit. It took a while with my other computer, so this is super exciting that I'm showing you real time. And the image, the result, the final image will show up to the right of those 3 selected. So now we have a new image, and you can see it says image 5959-HDR. So click that one and look at that. That is a perfectly exposed image, and you can see that it's already done a base edit on it. Now you can then go ahead and tweak it. Like for example, I think it's a little too orange, so I'm gonna lower the white balance a little. For me, it's crooked, so we're going to adjust it a little. I think that looks better. It's kind of, since it's a wide angle, it's a little different. You can also do the lens correction to try and flatten out the image. There we go, that looks a little better. And then just make little tweaks. Like for me, it looks a little hazy, so I'm gonna dehaze it a little, give it a little cleaner. And let's see, let's go ahead and drop the highlights completely. And let's set our white and black point by pressing Option. Generally, this will do it automatically. Yeah, it looks like it was perfect. And then just make tweaks. And that's how you do it. Go through all of your images. Here, let's do another one here. Let's take this one and this one. Shift select, right click on it, Photo Merge, HDR. It'll generate a preview for you. Boom, that one's a little dark, but we can work with it. Let's go ahead and press Merge and create our HDR. There it is, HDR image. And this one, we're gonna brighten the shadows a little, bring out some more of that color. Again, it's a little orange, so we're gonna drop the color a little, and up the exposure, drop the highlights to get more of that detail in the outside. And you can do a full edit on these images. Let's say you wanna put some depth into it. Use a graduated filter, and drop the exposure in the front to pull you into the back here. You can also give it a vignette if you want. Let's see, let's go down here to vignette. Add a vignette, give it a little bit more depth, and you can go crazy with it. I mean, now edit it as you're editing a raw image, but now you have a perfectly exposed photo. And the cool thing about this technique is you can absolutely use this outside, taking pictures of landscape. Expose for the foreground, take a picture and focus on the foreground, and then expose for the sky and take a picture with the focus on the sky. Use this technique, combine them. Remember, if you underexpose too much, it won't be able to match up. So just remember that when you're doing this technique. Take a couple of different photos, that way you have options. But it makes for some amazing photos. But that's it. That is the quick and easy way to get professional looking indoor images. It's super fun, super easy, and anyone can do it. So I hope that really helps you out, and I hope you guys can take some amazing indoor images. If you have any questions, comment below, let me know. If you like the video, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe because I do videos like this every single Monday at 7 p.m. And as always, don't forget to enjoy the journey that is exploring photography. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.